Peter Corbett now joins us. And Peter, for Origin Amenity Solutions, your remit is looking after chemical management and digital development, is that correct?
That's very correct, yes.
And what does that actually involve?
Right, well the key part for me is looking after, one, the physical traditional chemical inputs. Obviously with the way things are going in the future, the amount of chemicals that we'll have available to us is going to be declining. Therefore, inevitably we're looking at other interacting products because plant health is going to be the key thing going forwards. And also an element of plant health, an element of actually real science within this sector is obviously managing the digital aspects in terms of data collection and, most importantly, data interpretation.
Data collection and data interpretation is a big part of what seems to be going on here at this facility. We've had a good look round today. It's kind of a start-up R&D place for you, isn't it?
Well, it's certainly start-up for the amenity sector within this business. The site that we're actually at has a long history in terms of real science. It was a breeding station nearly 100 years ago and has been continually looking at innovation and development on seed, fertiliser, chemicals, but predominantly in the agricultural sector. But now we've installed the amenity side of the business within the same facility.
There's been a big investment, I think about $500,000 to get this to where we are today. What's the reason for doing it?
The primary reason for an investment is that this industry is a very complex industry. It's obviously a non-subsidised industry, so there is no government research within this sector. Up till now we've been totally dependent upon what manufacturers have said around pesticides, what other people have said around biostimulants. Quite often they won't have been very heavily researched, and also then around the nutritional aspects where actually managing nutrition because it is so complex is a big job to do. So the purpose here is to actually try and look at the science, look at things in individual boxes, if you want to call it that, see what they do and then see how they interact so we can actually come up with solutions for the end user.
What are the actual elements involved in that? Because we've had a tour here and there seems to be kind of laboratories, testing grounds. For those that haven't visited an R&D and test facility, what's involved?
Well, there's actually a huge amount involved because a lot of people say, oh, well, it's quite simple just to test a product. Well, yes, you can just test a product, but in order to do that, you need to know a huge number of variables because you need to know what the weather's doing. So we have a very significant Davis weather station installed here. We have various bits of technology actually installed within the soil, so we know the soil temperature, soil moisture. We can log that continuously in terms of how it's changing. And then also we have mobile technology such as the POGO system where we can capture data that is relevant to whatever it is we're looking at.
And in terms of what that actually will mean to the customer going forward, what are the benefits going to be to them?
The benefits to them, it means that we as a business will then be able to communicate, because a key part of research is not only doing the research, it's actually then interpreting what it means and then communicating it out to the end user. So there's no point a research organisation being a great big sponge that just collects information. You have to squeeze that sponge, communicate it out, and obviously with the Origin Amenity sales force, we will be briefing them in terms of the findings, how to use products, where to use them, when to use them. And also with the end customers, we can bring customers to the site here, and obviously we can use all the technology available to communicate information and the easy way to make things work first time.
Obviously this covers all of the brands within the Origin group, but you're not just looking at your own products, are you?
No, we will certainly be looking at all products because yes, we have group products that we manufacture or are produced within the group, but also because we are a distribution business, we have access to the technologies from lots of other companies who don't actually have a sales force to then deliver it to the end user. So our role is about taking all of the technologies, understanding them, and actually then integrating them and utilising the best bits for what we want for our end users.
The test beds that we looked at earlier, there's two distinct areas. You've got what we would call sports turf, I guess, and then fine turf. The fine turf area, you were telling us would have taken 3 years to grow in if you started from scratch, and then you wouldn't really have had a true reflection. How did you actually get to where you are now in such a short space of time?
Right, well the key thing is actually how we've physically done it, because a lot of people think actually, well, it's just grass, you chuck a bit of seed out there and you can grow grass. You can, but that's not what what we're aiming to achieve, because we want to replicate the surfaces. So what we've done here is we've obviously constructed completely from scratch. Everywhere is level, it's all been drained, irrigation has all been installed, and that irrigation is completely controllable, so each plot can actually be managed in terms of what irrigation it is applied to it. And then the way that we actually set the greens up, or effectively they're greens because that's what we're trying to replicate, is we actually use cores, and they're a POA bent core, and that core was removed from a site in Lincolnshire, brought down here as little cores, and then evenly spread across the whole of the root zone. And that way we've been able to establish something looks like a green that is probably 4 years old. So we've saved a good 3 years rather than starting from scratch. It also means, from my perspective, as obviously fungicides is quite an interesting area for myself, is that we've actually brought in the natural fungi that were in those cores. And so we've already seen disease developing, and normally that would take a number of years to actually get a disease site, particularly in the site we are, which is predominantly an arable area.
Peter, it's early days, but have you learnt much yet?
I think we've learnt a lot from the very beginning. One, in terms of the complexity and the time it takes to physically grow in. The guys who were involved in that, it was a massive project to actually achieve with the time frame that we were looking at. It was also obviously during lockdown as well, so that was even more interesting in terms of the ability to be able to get people in to come and help. Because there is a huge amount of management to go from bare earth or root zone. Even though we've started with cores, you've still then got to add top dressing, so there's been 4 top dressings applied to it initially, and then there have been other ones subsequently, because we really want to make sure that the surface actually replicates what a lot of people are playing on.
Peter, fascinating day. We look forward to seeing more results from you, and we wish you the best of luck with this ongoing project.
Well, thank you very much, and look forward to these type of things, because to me there is no value from this site unless we actually tell people about it and we actually communicate it out through the representatives and through forums such as yourself. So thank you very much.